So we just got a new Comrades trailer, and oh boy, there's a lot of new stuff coming. And since I'm a huge fanboy who can't wait for 2 weeks for the actual update to be out, I figured I'd make a trailer analysis because I obviously don't have anything more important to do. Also, yes, there are story spoilers in this trailer, so be warned. Anyway, the trailer starts by showing off a glaive kicking and punching an enemy. My immediate thought was that this is some kind of a new weapon, and to be honest it probably is, but there is some room for debate there because, as you can see, they don't seem to be having like any cestus or any sort of fist weapon with them, they're literally just punching with their bare fists. So one possibility is that you get to fight with your fists when you don't have any weapon equipped in your active slot, but I really hope this isn't the case because in Comrades the stat boosts you get from weapons are like, they're super important, so if you have to forego an entire weapon slot to fight with fists, that's like from 500 to 800 missing stat points, which is a very big deal, so hopefully it's not that. Also, there is a possibility that it's just a new sigil, but that really goes for everything we can see in this trailer. The next clip seems to show a gravity spell and, well yeah, it's a new spell, that's awesome. But what this gets me thinking is that what's going to be the damage type of gravity? Because, like, the obvious answer would be that it's dark damage, but in this game enemies never have a dark resistance, and you've never been able to do any dark-based attacks previously. I think the Gravisphere Prompto just does physical damage, so this possibly only deals like pure magic damage with no particular element, which actually makes it great because then it can bypass all resistances or weaknesses. It also pulls the enemies to one spot like other gravity-based attacks in this game, which is awesome for setting up AoE attacks. After that, they just use Blizzard, which is nothing new. Now this next one, this is the most interesting clip in the whole video. There's a lot to talk about here, so let's first slow it down. So what's with this weapon spinning around your character thing? It doesn't really look like weapon swapping in Comrades or in the base game, because the weapons are in a different angle. Also, there are 8 of them, but let's first look at the weapons themselves before trying to figure out what the fuck this thing is. So let's take the familiar picks first. There's a katana and a crossbow and a spear here. But look at this, it's a greatsword. So possibly another new weapon type. Also, you've probably already noticed these 3 scepters here, which are most likely going to be a new weapon type as well. Something interesting about these though is that there are 3 of them and they all have a different color, and these colors correspond to your basic elemental spells, fire, ice and lightning. So they could possibly give you some element-based magic attacks. Who knows, the characters don't use them at all in this trailer. There's also an 8th weapon here, which is pretty easy to miss. You can see the flute here that shows up in the next clip. So that's already possibly 4 new weapon types, which is awesome. So I personally have 2 theories as to what this spinny thing is. One possibility is that it's a new sigil ability and part of the animation for the following meteor spell, but I really don't think that's the case because the animation just doesn't make sense. Why are you cycling through weapons but then doing an attack that doesn't require any weapons? It's just bizarre. However, the animations do flow together pretty seamlessly, so it still could be that. My other theory is that they're going to change the equipment system so that you can now equip 8 weapons instead of 4. Holding down buttons on the D-pad would change to these other weapons, which would explain why this animation is so long compared to the current weapon swap animation. It would fit pretty well with the control scheme, given that the number of weapons we can see here is double of what we can currently equip. But once again, we can't really say anything for certain, so we'll just have to wait for the update. This meteor thing could be a new spell or new crossbow ability, but my money's on the former because they show this right after the gravity spell. Next they show this messy clip, which at first I thought it was a new katana ability, but looking more closely it just seems to be Charge Strike Clear Out, unless they're recycling the animation for some reason. The next clip shows the flute in action and it seems to do some kind of AoE buff heal thing. Impossible to say what it does at this point, but I'm just happy they're pushing the support roles more because nobody's using them currently. Next we see a new shuriken attack, which looks awesome. The interesting thing here is that this confirms that they're also enhancing the movesets of current weapons. It could be that we're getting a new material that enhances movesets, kinda like Clear Out and Savage Swipe, or this could be just a new ability specific to a new shuriken. After all, the game is currently missing a level 99 shuriken. And finally here we have a Kamehameha. This could be a new spell, but I'm more leaning towards it being a special attack for the fist weapons. It doesn't really fit any traditional Final Fantasy spells. Next they show off additions to the character creation, nothing really to say here. Next we see Westcam in what appears to be the lighthouse in Cap Kaem. Since there are no enemies around and there's an NPC, this is most likely going to be a new outpost. We currently can't bring power here, so this is probably one of the directions where the map is going to be expanded. This chocobo thing is super random. I have no idea why it exists or what its purpose is, but yeah, it's the arena from Altissia, and apparently you can pit chocobos against dragons to torture the poor animals. Like, I don't know, why are we having Colosseum fights with chocobos when chocobos are near extinct and there's a literal apocalypse happening? Anyway, this other place where we see the chocobos is also in Cape Kaem, and since Westcam was in the lighthouse, does that mean we go from Cape Kaem to Altissia to do this chocobo thing? I don't know. Next we see Gladio and the other bros fighting a demon wall, and well, we already knew this was gonna happen. Way back when they announced Comrades, they said that they're gonna eventually add the chocobros as playable characters. Something to take note of is that nowhere in this trailer do we see the glaives fighting alongside the bros, which, I mean, it could be an artistic decision, but it could also mean that they have their own separate missions. This is something I've suspected from the very start, since balancing 5 playable characters for this DLC would be an absolute nightmare. I mean, they can't even balance character swapping for the single player, let alone Comrades. We're probably going to have some story missions for the Chocobros and then some no story all gameplay missions for the Glaives. And this place where they're fighting the demon wall, well, it took me forever to find, but it's on the path to the cliff overlooking Insomnia where you go in Chapter 1. So yeah, if this doesn't already confirm that we're getting lead, then the next 2 clips certainly will. And here we see the Glaives fighting a zoo, and well, yeah, that's cool, it's a fun enemy to fight. But more importantly, the place where they're fighting at can also be found in lead. It's the place northeast of Hammerhead where you can fight a Bandersnatch in the base game. So since we're getting a lead expansion, that raises interesting implications about the possible missions or outposts we could have. I mean, Hammerhead is pretty much guaranteed since we already saw it was an outpost in Chapter 14 in the base game. Also, there's Nordiskian Garrison, which is probably going to be this hunter encampment in the base game. As for missions, we have Formoth Garrison and Insomnia along with the rest of the lead for possible stages for the missions. And also there's everyone's favorite Snorfest, the Adamantoise, as a potential boss. Next we see Ardyn, but this is just the cutscene from the base game. He might appear, who knows. And finally we have the reveal that Ifrit is coming as a boss fight for Comrades. He seems to have some new moves though. This one seems new and this one is definitely new. So it's not going to be just the same old boss fight but recycled. He might be the new quote-unquote final boss for Comrades, but then again they didn't show Bahamut before release, so they might still have something up in their sleeve. Possibly an Ardyn boss fight, although that would be a complete clusterfuck with 4 people. When it comes to the lore, there are some interesting implications here. You see, Ifrit's throne is still here, but in the base game it only spawns after Ardyn summons him and then it's destroyed by Bahamut in the mid-fight cutscene. So when does this take place exactly? Then again, this wouldn't be the first time Comrades is inconsistent with base game lore, so whatever. Also, the Royal Edition is already bringing a lot of changes to Chapter 14, so this just could be one of them. Some people have speculated that this is going to replace the Ifrit boss fight in the base game, but I doubt they're just going to remove content, let alone one of the most well-received fights in the entire game. But yeah, that's the whole trailer. What do you think? Are you excited for these updates? Because I sure as hell am. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks for watching and take care.